Good morning. It is Monday, March 30th, and today we're going to talk about test taking skills, right? There are lots of tests in our life. A lot of them have multiple choice, some of them don't. But we're going to come to a point where we can understand how to prepare to be more successful, right? And there are 5 things that you need to do to prepare in order to do well on a test. Right? First, you're going to watch the video. It's going to talk about test anxiety, and we've all talked about that in the classroom where some people have anxiety when they take a test. This is going to give you some tips and some things to do to calm yourself through that test to make it through, right? To get the best grade that you can get. So then when you're watching that video, we're going to move over to the sheets or, on Google Classroom, and you guys are going to read about test taking skills. So one of those 5 things is prepare beforehand. And when you all have done very well in a test, and the vast majority of you have received A's and B's, and then I asked the question, how many of you actually studied or prepared? Usually during those times I have most of the hands in the classroom raised, right? And we have had tests where we've all done very well in social studies, and I know from talking to you guys that you have studied ahead of time. So it's all about how have you prepared, how have you studied, right? That's number 1. Number 2 is following directions. A lot of times on a test, if you are quickly running through a test and you haven't really read the directions and what it is the expectation is. So that's number 2 that you have to think about. Number 3 is concentrate on the test. And I know that's really difficult because you got a room full of kids and you got other noises going on and you have these cardboard things up next to you, at least in my classroom. So I know that's difficult to concentrate, but you have to keep reminding yourself to return back to the test that you're working on. And then step number 5 is review your answer. Now, I've always told you guys, and there's a science behind it, most of the time your first answer is correct. They said, I believe when I read that study, it was like 80% of the time. Now, does that leave 20% that possibly you didn't answer that question correctly? Yes. And have some of you told me, oh, Mrs. Kreutz, I went back, I checked that answer, and I changed it, and I got the right answer. So yes, should you review your answer and take a look at it? But if it's a question that you're not positive that the answer that you wrote down was wrong, usually 80% of the time your first instinct is the answer that you want to go with, right? And we've talked about that prior. So then you're going to move on to practicing your skill, and there are 5 questions, and those questions will be answered directly from the reading, right? So you just put those answers down. Again, you don't have to write the question. You're just writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your paper, and you're writing the answer. Then you're going to move on to applying the skill 1. And there are 4 questions there, and those are really based on your opinion of how you get ready for a test. So like question number 1 says, I make sure that my study habits are consistent. Do you see my look? Yeah. Okay. So you have to answer that question honestly. So if you think that your study habits are consistent, then you would give yourself a 5 if you feel like you do that all the time. If you feel like you're about average in that, you'd give yourself a 3. And then if you feel like your study habits are not consistent in any way, shape, or form, then you're going to give yourself a 1, right? There are no right or wrong answers on applying the skill 1, questions 1 through 4. Then it tells you to, how can I improve my test preparation skills? You have to give me 3 things. You have to list 3 things of how you can improve that. Okay, then you're going to move down to applying the skill number 2. And again, this is all based on you. So there's no right or wrong answer. The first question said, I read all the test instructions carefully. Do you always do that? If you always do that, you're going to give yourself a 5. If you don't always do that, but you do it sometimes, you might give yourself a 3. Or if you just quickly want to run through and bubble in all the answers, you're definitely going to give yourself a 1 on that. And there are 7 questions there that you're going to answer. And then finally, again, I can improve my test-taking skills by, and you're going to give me 3 ways that you can improve your test-taking skills. This is an important skill. You do have tests throughout school, and being prepared is the best way to come out with the your best grade that you can come up with on the test. Again, if you have any questions, please email me or you can send them through Google Classroom. A lot of you are turning work in, and thank you so much for that. It's really good work. If you're tuning in on a Google Doc, which is the best way, I can put my notes on there, and then you can go back and take a look and make corrections. I just put on there, try again, or I gave you some information or some hints on how to get that done. So again, any questions, let me know. Have a great Monday. Be safe, be well, and hopefully soon we will be back together. Have a great day.